Social or collective karma. People often pose the question whether social or collective karma exists. Some people claim that karma is restricted to an individual. The karma generated by an individual pertains only to that person. The person who sows the seed reaps the fruit. Kamma therefore only exists on an individual level. It is a private matter. In some, social or collective karma does not exist. Holding to such a view, however, may be a form of delusion. When faced with such questions, it is not always necessary to answer them directly. Sometimes it suffices to share specific principles on this subject with the questioners and thus allow them to dispel their own doubts. What is karma? As most students of Buddhism are aware, karma is action, specifically action generated by intention, cetana. Indeed, the Buddha stated that karma is intention, or intention is karma. In terms of the individual, whoever performs karma, whoever is the owner of a volitional deed, experiences its fruit, the results of intention. From this perspective, karma is an individual matter. If red dye is added to a glass of water, the water is red. If green dye is added to another glass, the water is green. The two glasses are clearly separated from one another. Human beings are distinct from material objects found in nature, insofar as they perform volitional actions. All human affairs and occupations, building, agricultural, crafts, tailoring, etc., are a consequence of human intention. They follow the volitional designs of human beings. Collectively, the myriad activities and enterprises performed by human beings are referred to as human society, or the human world. Human society comprises the world of human volitional activity, directed and determined by intention. The human world is thus a world of karma. In brief, karma is a matter pertaining to human beings. Human matters are equivalent to karma. Individual karma does exist. Yet, when one examines karma from a broader perspective, karma pertains to all human activities and is the catalyst for the formation of human society. Generally speaking, one need not differentiate the karma of people and the karma of society, or to distinguish between karma on the personal level and karma on the social level. Instead of making that distinction, one should distinguish karma, all of which pertains to human beings, from matters dealing with material objects, the natural environment, trees and plants, etc. Although each person leads an individual life, the very engagement and interaction with others is the basis for society. Similarly, although everyone performs individual karma, when people live together and perform volitional actions towards or in collaboration with others, a specific kind of karma is created. When viewing karma in this broad sense, one sees that it encompasses both individual human beings all the way up to the entire human society. For this reason, except for the purpose of unique considerations, it is unnecessary to distinguish between individual and social karma. Take the example of a village in which the residents are farmers and sustain a decent living by working in the fields. One day a gambler skilled at cockfighting visits the village and displays his craft. He drums up interest from others, encouraging them to engage in cockfighting. This is his own intentional action, and he will receive the fruits of acting in this way. Here the perspective is on the individual level. A further analysis reveals that before long almost every head of the household in this village adopts this new activity, delighting in the joys of cockfighting, and they neglect their work. Each individual who acts in this way likewise receives the fruits of his or her intentional actions. A broader perspective of the entire village, however, reveals the collective fruit of a change in lifestyle among a large portion of the villagers, including an increase in alcohol consumption and theft. The entire fortune of the village, even including the physical environment, undergoes an alteration as a consequence of these actions. By examining this series of events, one is able to distinguish between those matters pertaining to an individual and those pertaining to the community as a whole. In terms of the formal teachings, a broader perspective reveals how the set of conditions, paccaya kara, are naturally interconnected. Many Buddhists may have heard the Pali adage Kamuna Vatati Loko, which may be translated as the world turns by way of Kamma. It is important to understand the deeper meaning of this teaching. The world here refers to human society. Let us examine how the human world proceeds according to Kamma. This passage is found in the Vaseta Sutta, in which the Buddha teaches the principle of Kamma in order to repudiate the caste system of the Brahmins. The Brahmins held the doctrine that the god Brahma created the world and set up a definitive social system for human beings, determining the division into the four castes of Katiya, kings, rulers, Brahmana, Brahmins, Vaisa, merchants, traders, and Sudha, manual workers. Having been born into one of these social classes, one had to remain in that class for the rest of one's life. There was no way to alter one's status. The Buddha refuted this doctrine, stating that the world of human beings proceeds according to Kamma. He emphasized those intentional actions that are performed on a regular basis, becoming the ingrained way of life of an individual, or the tradition of a community. This refers in particular to people's work or profession. In Pali, the term Kamma often refers to an occupation or profession. People's work and occupations are precisely what is meant by the term Kamma in the phrase, the world turns by way of Kamma. The world of human beings does not follow the dictates of the god Brahma, nor is it predetermined in any sort of unyielding or inflexible way. The world turns as a consequence of the work and activities intentionally chosen and undertaken by human beings themselves. Although the Vaseta Sutta has been cited in other chapters of Buddhadhamma, the subject material under discussion was different. Here are the passages relevant to this context. Look here, Vaseta. You should know that he who makes his living among men by tending cattle is a farmer. He is not a Brahmin. Whoever makes his living by varied crafts is called a craftsman. Whoever makes his living by trade is called a merchant. Whoever makes his living by serving others is called a servant. Whoever makes his living by stealing is called a robber. Whoever makes his living by archery or swordsmanship is called a soldier. Whoever makes his living by priestly craft is called a chaplain. He is not a Brahmin. Whoever governs the town and realm is called a ruler. He is not a Brahmin. He who harbours no residual defilements, who clings no more, he he is the one I call a Brahmin. One is not a Brahmin by birth, by action one is a Brahmin, by action one is a non-Brahmin. For people are farmers by their actions, Kamma, work, occupation, behaviour. By their actions are people craftsmen, merchants, servants, robbers, soldiers, chaplains, and rulers too. The truly wise, seers of dependent origination, skilled in action on its results, see action as it really is. Kamma makes the world go round. Kamma makes this generation turn. In sum, according to the Buddhist teachings, human society manifests and proceeds according to people's work and occupations and the way in which people live their lives. It is not ultimately dependent on a caste system based on one's birth and family, which the Brahmins claim was prescribed and created by Brahma. As mentioned earlier, the principle of Kamma is one aspect to the teaching on dependent origination. In the chapter on dependent origination, it was mentioned how the Buddha described a mode of conditionality, paccaya kara, in terms of how social problems originate. One can label this process dependent origination in regard to social affliction. The problem of individual suffering and the problems of society are all problems linked to or arising as a result of human beings. They are interconnected and part of a whole. Individual problems spread outwards, creating social problems, which may then turn around and intensify individual problems. Therefore, the scriptures do not emphasize a distinction between these various kinds of karmic processes. Of these three kinds of karma, physical, verbal, and mental karma, the Buddha stated that mental karma produces the greatest consequences. And all of the factors of mental karma that one given special emphasis is view of deity, namely a person's way of thinking, belief system, opinions, ideology, religious beliefs, ideals, etc. An example of the impact views have on society is that religious and spiritual leaders have been able to create revolutionary events and changes throughout history by proclaiming their ideas, causing others to endorse, undertake, practice, and spread these teachings. The driving force behind every society and civilization is a collection of views and beliefs, and the fortunes, both positive and negative, of human societies are a consequence of such mental karma performed by people living in these societies. The following passage by the Buddha confirms the juxtaposition of how views are volitional actions arising in the mind, while at the same time having a tremendous bearing on society and the world. Monks, there is one person who arises in the world for the harm of many people, for the unhappiness of many people, for the ruin, harm, and suffering of many people, of devas and human beings. Who is that one person? It is one who holds a wrong view and has an incorrect perspective. He draws many people away from the true Dhamma and establishes them in a false Dhamma. This is that one person who arises in the world for the harm of many people, the unhappiness of many people, for the ruin, harm, and suffering of many people, of devas and human beings. Monks, there is one person who arises in the world for the welfare of many people, for the happiness of many people, for the good welfare and happiness of many people, of devas and human beings. Who is that one person? It is one who holds a right view and has a correct perspective. He draws many people away from a false Dhamma and establishes them in the true Dhamma. This is that one person who arises in the world for the welfare of many people, the happiness of many people, for the good welfare and happiness of many people, of devas and human beings. In general terms, one may judge religious leaders, intellectuals, politicians, etc., who influence society through sharing their ideas. by the fruits of their actions, using the standard found in the Buddha's description of the attributes of a great man, Mahapurisa. He is practicing for the welfare and happiness of many people. He is one who has established many people in the noble way of being endowed with wholesome and virtuous qualities. This corresponds with the frequently cited Buddhist maxim, act for the welfare and happiness of the many folk, for the compassionate assistance of the world. Bahujana hitaya bahujana sukhaya lokanu kampaya. To reiterate, Kamma is a matter pertaining to human beings. All other matters related to human beings, including those dynamics present in the human mind, involve other laws of nature and similarly proceed according to causes and conditions. But it is precisely Kamma, volitional thoughts, speech, and actions, that is a unique and inherent quality of the human state of existence. One can say that human life is characterized by volitional actions, Kamma. The expression social Kamma or collective Kamma may be misleading. It is more apt to say human Kamma, and then to distinguish between Kamma dealing with an individual and Kamma dealing with society, or Kamma bearing fruit for an individual and Kamma extending outwards and creating specific social conditions. The most important matters affecting society are those actions performed by individuals when relating and associating to one another. The circumstances of individuals or of society as a whole are a consequence of people's volitional actions. People's thoughts, speech, and actions condition human society. The world turns because of Kamma. As mentioned earlier, the essence of Kamma is intention. The world is thus shaped and moulded by human intention. A primary form of intentional activity on the social level, guided by human intelligence, is the establishment of conventional rules, a form of mutual agreement, in order to assist with social engagements and relationships. With wisdom guiding intention, human beings are able to participate as a vital factor in the natural causal process in order to alter the course of events in a way that fits with their desires. This participation is particularly effective in the context of establishing a system of social conventions which lie at the heart of any society. Here, wisdom has an understanding of Dhamma, the truth of nature or the laws of nature. Intention, the key factor of the law of Kamma, applies this understanding to formulate a system of social conventions, Vinaya. The society receives the fruits of these volitional actions according to the level of wisdom and the quality of the mind inherent in those who formulate these conventions. This is the link between the laws of nature and human conventions. In particular, the link between the law of Kamma, Kamma niyama, and conventional laws, Sammati niyama. A true civilization is only created when people are able to understand and reach this balance between truth, Dhamma, and conventional prescriptions, Vinaya. Among public officials entrusted with a specific social duties, there may be those who seek out personal advantage and profit. Other people may live out their lives outside of any formally appointed public position, yet be fully dedicated to the welfare of society. If one understands the principle of Kamma, one will be able to distinguish in these cases which matters pertain to individual Kamma and which to social Kamma.